We're back talking SEC football here on Southeastern 14. We're going to dive into the three biggest SEC games for the Florida Gators coming up in 2024. But first, I want to remind you about BetOnline, your number one source for all of your summer sports this season, from MLB to golf to NBA to NHL. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to you and your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet online where the game starts. So, I mean, heading into the 2024 season for the Florida Gators, if you've looked at their schedule, it's brutal. It's tough. It is by far the hardest SEC schedule for any team. And that puts Florida in a tough situation because this is a year where they need to win. They are in must-win mode for this season for Billy Napier. And again, there's no arguing this is the toughest SEC schedule when you look up and down. So they need a win. I think every SEC game is going to be important for Florida this year. I really do. I think every game, period, on their schedule, they need a win. They need to play well. I think they've upgraded the roster. Graham Mertz, again, back at quarterback. So he's, again, another year under the system. I think that will help. But certainly, there's questions to be posed for this Florida team. But I do think they have some talent. I think they filled some holes in some positions they needed to. But still, I think this is a tough schedule, and they have got to find a way to get some wins this year. But again, I think every SEC game is important. But I've picked out three that I think are very important this year. The three biggest games for Florida in SEC play in 2024. And I'll start with that October 12th matchup as Florida goes on the road to Tennessee. This will be, at this point, the third SEC game of the season for the Gators. They make the trip to Knoxville this year. If you remember, Tennessee came down to Gainesville last year, and Florida was able to get the win. That was a big win last year for Florida against Tennessee. So, this Tennessee team, they're going to be hosting Florida. They're going to be trying to avenge that loss from a season ago there in Gainesville. I think this is going to be a tough game for Florida. But overall in this series, Florida has had the major upper hand, only losing twice to Tennessee since 2005. And of course, these two teams have played every year because they've been in the SEC East. Now, we got to say Tennessee is much better than they have been in the last decade plus, but Florida really needs to find a way to win this game. They really, really need to find a way to win this game, I think. This could be a huge spark for the Gators if they can get a win in Knoxville, if they can beat a good Tennessee team. Again, they'll have Texas A&M and Mississippi State under their belt at this point in SEC play. But they need to find a way to get a win there over Tennessee. Their season opener against Miami is going to be a big test, I think, for Florida and kind of where they're at. But I think this is going to be a huge test for the Gators when they go on the road in a very tough environment to Tennessee and play. But again, I think this could be a huge spark for the Gators if they can go up to Knoxville and knock down the Tennessee Vols in their home stadium there at Neyland Stadium. So I think the Tennessee game October 12th is going to be huge for the Florida Gators. The second biggest game I think this year for the Florida Gators is their matchup on October the 26th against the Kentucky Wildcats, as they will have this game in Gainesville this year. Billy Napier has not beaten Kentucky in his time at Florida. And I think this is a year where that really needs to happen. You look at the last three meetings between these two teams. Florida has not scored over 16 points in any of their last three matchups with Kentucky. And I do think Florida's offense is going to be much improved this year, but they've got to be able to get over that hump. They need to be able to score more than 16 points on this team to beat them. And so the offense, again, has got to play better against Kentucky. They've got to be able to score points. Kentucky's been kind of a thorn in the side of Florida for the past several years. And they have got to be able to win this game, I think. This is one of those must-wins. You say that a lot for Florida this year, but this Kentucky game, I think, is a must-win for Billy Napier to beat the Kentucky Wildcats. This is a very important game. Again, it's a It's a late October game, so again, you're getting to a point where you got to win these games, and I think this is one that Florida really needs to win. Again, I think it's really good they have this one in the swamp, but again, Kentucky's beaten them twice in the last 3 years um, in Gainesville. So important game here for Florida as they host Kentucky on October the 26th. Also, another important game, and it happens to be their rivalry game, neutral field, November the 2nd, Florida and Georgia. They're in Jacksonville. And obviously, Georgia, one of the top tier teams of the SEC. Another great chance to win the conference again this year. But I think this could be a statement game for Florida. And not even the fact, a statement if they win. I think it could be a statement based on how they play this game. Again, this is a brutal schedule for the Florida Gators. So what is their approach to this game? How are they going to play in this game? What is their attitude toward this game? I think that could say a lot about where this program is under Billy Napier based on how they approach this game. This is a November game, so we know you've played a lot. You've played a lot of football up until this point. You've either won a lot of games, lost a lot of games, had some toss-ups. I think it's important for this team still to be fighting at this point. So I think if they can compete, if they can challenge Georgia, that could be a big statement to where Florida is under Billy Napier. You look at the rest of the way out, though, and this is kind of the second reason I think this is a big game. So you got Georgia, then Texas, then LSU, then Ole Miss, right in a row as your final 4 conference games. That's brutal. I mean, that is tough. And so they need some confidence riding into this final stretch for the Gators. And I think, again, playing well, challenging Georgia could be just that spark that they need for the rest of the way out. But again, tough schedule for the Gators. But I think their matchup at Tennessee is big based off Florida being able to beat the Vols last year. I think the Kentucky game in Gainesville is big because Billy Napier needs to be able to beat the Kentucky Wildcats. And then the matchup with Georgia as kind of a statement, as kind of a let's see where this program is at this point. And, hey, let's get a little steam to finish out the SEC, tough SEC schedule that the Gators have. I think this could be an interesting year for Florida. They have some talent, have some pieces I think they've been missing. It's just waiting to see how that translates to the field, to the game, and we'll just have to wait and see. But I think this is a Florida team that could turn some heads. Again, there's still a lot of questions to be answered when it comes to Billy Napier and the Florida Gators this year. But that is 3 SEC games that I think are big for the Gators this year in the midst of a tough SEC schedule. We got you covered on all things SEC football, basketball, baseball right here on Southeastern 14. So subscribe to our channel, like this video, share it with your friends. Spread the word about Southeastern 14 as we bring you daily SEC content.